Hello creeps! Andy here, and today I have all of my monstery type of books reading wrap up for October video. Was that English? I got this new sweater today. It's fresh out of the dryer. It's honestly still a little bit wet. And it's really cute. It was just from Amazon, but it was kind of expensive and it's not great material. So I don't know if I would recommend, but it is adorable. But anyways, let's just get into my reading wrap up for the month of October. So the very first book that I read was called Halloween Fiend by C.V. Hunt. And this one is kind of a shorter, like novella-ish type book. I think it was like 100 pages. And it's about this small town. They go on lockdown every night and they have to leave these sacrifices of animals out for this Halloween monster that trick-or-treats at their door. And the town's terrified of the monster. There's some newcomers that come into the town and they start noticing weird things about the town as well. They continue on the hunt for this monster, keeping safe but also wanting to confront it to try to stop it from kind of wreaking havoc on the town. This was a cute story. I mean, yeah, it wasn't like mind-blowing or anything, but it was cute. It was, you know, Halloween-ish. So I think I gave this one like a 3.8 or a 3.9 out of 5 stars. So it was, you know, it was cute. It was cute. The next one that I read was Dead Leaves. This is 9 Tales from the Witching Hour by Keelan Patrick Burke. And this is just a bunch of short stories. A lot of them are really cute. I mean, I have been really enjoying his writing this year. This is, I think, the 3rd thing that I've read from him. So yeah, extremely well written. The only thing I would say... Oh, okay. I was wondering where that check went. Okay. The only thing that I would say is they definitely feel more fall and not Halloween, which it's called Dead Leaves, but it says from the witching season and there's pumpkins in the front of it. And so you're like, okay, this is gonna feel like Halloween. And I was reading it and definitely felt like fall, but most of the stories were just kind of, oh, they happen to take place on Halloween, but they don't really have anything to do with Halloween. So this one I still gave 4 stars to. The writing's still incredible. I would just say going into it, I would expect this for a fall read and not necessarily a Halloween read. So if you guys remember last month, or the end of last month, it's November now, but the end of September or the beginning of October, I gave you a whole list of books that I wanted to read this month. I just wanted to read Halloween, creepy, spooky books all month long. However, it ended up being like 95 degrees most of October and I was not in the mood for Halloween. It kind of sucked because it did kind of take the spookiness out of the season. So I wanted to save a little bit more of those like prominent fall books or like spooky, I want to read on a stormy night books for November, December. So I will be reading Dracula at some point this year. I'm going to try to, but it won't be until later. I didn't get to that. I just couldn't. I was like, okay, I gotta read Dracula, and I'd sit down and be like, it's summer. I can't do it. So the next one that I ended up reading was Hexis. This is by Charlene Elsby, and I picked this one up in my last book haul. I previously read Violent Faculties from her and absolutely loved it, so I was excited to read Hexis. This one is a lot different. So this is just about a woman. I don't think we know her name, and she just continually murders a man, the same man, that's kind of messed with her life in different ways over and over and over again. And that's the whole story. I do really enjoy her writing style. However, with Violent Faculties, because she's really smart and she has a PhD in philosophy. Does anybody else get those PH words mixed up? She has a PhD in philosophy. So with Violent Faculties, she did a really great job of, not that I got everything in that book, but I think she did a good job kind of relaying the philosophical aspects in layman's terms so we could at least digest them a little bit. But with this one, although I know that there's psychology in here, it's not really discussed. It's written more just like a stream of consciousness type story. One, not the biggest fan of stream of consciousness type stories, and 2, because I wasn't really introduced to the philosophy that I know that she's referring to in here. I missed a lot of it. I'm positive I did. Still an interesting read. I gave that one 3 stars though, just because I'm dumb. So the next one that I read, oh, The Mummy by Anne Rice. So this one, if you guys didn't catch my live stream where we did pumpkin carving and I gave you guys like a little quiz for horror, like related to horror stuff. This was actually the book. So Anne Rice was approached by, I don't know if it was producers or what, somebody in the film industry, and asked to write a script for a mummy movie. So she writes the script, she submits it, and they wanted to change it so much that she got pissed off and she was like, you know what, I'm gonna write my own book. And that resulted in this book right here, The Mummy. And then that script went on to become that Brendan Fraser mummy movie. So this one, not at all like the Mummy movie. And I actually really enjoyed it. Okay, so let me get that straight. Let me say that straight off the bat. I really did enjoy this one. I gave this one a 4 stars, right? Yes, I gave this one 4 stars. Much different than I thought it would be. So much intercourse in this book that I had to make a whole separate video on Patreon. And I made like a diagram of all the people that slept together in this book because it was just so many people were just f***ing all day long. This old man was getting laid every second. It was wild. But anyways, this story is about this young girl named Julie. Her father is Lawrence. Lawrence goes to Egypt and he uncovers this mummy, but he finds some inconsistencies related to the time period that the corpse should have been from, the language that's written on the casket or sarcophagus or whatever it was, and just some other things. So he finds these scrolls from the man that's buried there, whose name is, I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, Ramses, I think is how you pronounce it, who is the mummy. And he states that he was given an elixir and he is in fact immortal. So he's not a typical mummy in that he died and he resurrects. Or is that actually how mummies usually work? I don't know, because I think this is the first mummy book I've ever read. But now I'm interested in more mummies. So anyways, he ends up coming back to England and you know, raises from his casket and falls in love with Julie. And he's supposed to be this like hot, hunky mummy. So I was like, oh, new kink unlocked. And it actually didn't turn out to be really at all how I expected. He let me down a lot. He was just screwing ladies left and right. One night he screwed an entire brothel. And he was supposed to be in love with Julie, but then does some things that kind of contradict that a bit. I just don't think that he treated her as well as he should have. So I thought it was going to be like a hot mummy romance, and it wasn't really like that to me. So I was just joking about the kink thing. But yeah. So anyways, he ends up resurrecting, and they end up going back to Egypt because he says that he wants to kind of put to rest his old life before he can start his new life in the modern era. So that's The Mummy. But there's a second, maybe even a third of that book. So I will read those, I think, eventually. The next book that I read was So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. And I gotta tell you, I loved this book. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I adored this book. I thought it was amazing. But I don't know if I would recommend this to everyone. Not that I don't think that everyone would enjoy it, but I think that particularly women who are getting older, like women in their 30s, will connect with this book a lot more on a deeper level than other people who just kind of pick up this book and read it for fun. So it's about a woman, I think her name's Sloane. Yeah, Sloane. Her partner's cheating on her. She's kind of just become so complacent with her life that she doesn't complain about the shit that's wrong with it. She doesn't do anything to change it. She's just complacent. It's the best word, I think, to describe this character. Very complacent. So her husband ends up setting up a trip for her and her best friend to go. They end up renting a cabin, meeting a group of vampires, and there's some vampire orgies in here. I just gotta say, new kink unlocked. So anyways, the story, like vampirism, is used definitely as a literary device in this, and it's such an interesting read. And if you actually dig under the surface, there's so much here. And so I'm gonna do a whole other video. I've already got it planned. It'll be coming out soon, where I go a little bit more in depth and detail about this book. But I would highly recommend this book for women who are getting a little bit older, and people who are maybe complacent in their lives, people who, I don't know, it really made me really sit down and question my life and what makes me happy and what I could do to change to make me happier, and why we're so fearful and hesitant to do those things. I don't know. That book was awesome. Highly recommend for my 30-year-old ladies out there. So the next one that I read was Plowed by the Pumpkin King by Juno Delight. I think it's kind of self-explanatory what that one's about, so I don't think I have to go into too much detail. Some woman is plowed by the Pumpkin King. I also read The Sentient Manifestation of Halloween Eats Me Out by Chuck Tingle, and I also read This Pumpkin Spice Latte Gets Me Off in a Fun and Sincere Way Because It's Okay for People to Enjoy Popular Things Without Being Shamed for Their Perceived Basicness of Their Beverage Choices. Those are both Chuck Tingle books, but I made a whole video about those, so I don't think I need to go into detail, but they're just smut books, funny smut books. The next one that I read was Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This one was sent to me, and yeah, it's really fun. It's a mixture kind of fuck, what's that book called? None of us are there. No one, none, hello. And then there were none. Wow, my brain just short-circuited. Anyways, so it's kind of a mixture of And Then There Were None, that Agatha Christie book, mixed with a Clue type book. So basically this family goes to visit their grandma one Halloween. It's the grandmother's birthday, and she's gotten a psychic to tell her that she will die on her 80th birthday. So she's just kind of settled on the idea that this might be her last birthday. So she invites all her closest loved ones to gather around her for her potentially last year alive, or last birthday alive, or I don't know. So they all come to her house. She lives on this, it's called Sea Glass, and it's basically this little island where when the tide is high, you can't come or go. So they're basically trapped there. The family starts dying off one by one, and you are trying to figure out who is doing it, along with the rest of the family. It's told from Daisy Darker's perspective. Man, this book sucked. Like, it was sad. It was so sad the way that this family treats each other just from the beginning. It really was sad. It made me sad. Yeah, the ending sucked as in it was sad. And yeah, it just made me depressed. Alice Feeney isn't my favorite writer. She just has these very punchy lines that take me out of the story. But I will say they're less used in here than like his and hers. I could not get through that book. It's so funny too, because that one's being made into a movie. I'm like, huh? She has so many other, well, I've only read a few other of her books, but any of the other ones that I've read, I've liked 100 times more than his or hers. So it's just weird what gets picked up to be made into movies. But anyways, this one was, I feel like, less with those punchy lines. So it took me out of the story less. I was really interested in the character. I was really interested in the family and just how they treat each other. And it was just sad and unexpected. And I rated that one a 4 stars too. I really liked that. The next one that I read, guys, oh my god. Oh, this is Killer Halloween Cupcakes by Addison Moore. I think this is number 14 in the series. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I have been trying to sleep at night and thinking about this book and being like, no. And I can't tell you anything because it'll give stuff away. But all I'm saying is I cannot wait for November to pick up the next book to see what actually happens, because this is left on the mother of all cliffhangers. The cliffhanger to hang all cliffs. I couldn't believe it. And I haven't been sleeping because I keep thinking about this book and I keep being like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But you guys know the story. It's Lottie Lemon. She's a baker in a small town. Somebody gets murdered and she tries to solve the case. She's also in a love triangle between two hunky stepbrothers. New kink. Unlocked. I hope you guys know I'm just fucking around. But anyways, the next one that I read was The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This was my first time reading it, and this was actually so cute. It's a group of trick-or-treaters that go out trick-or-treating. They're, you know, younger kids, smaller kids. They're dressed up as different things, a mummy, and I can't remember anything else, but stuff like that. And they go trick-or-treating and they find this Halloween tree, which is in this man's yard. and it's a giant tree filled with lit pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns. It just sounds so cool. And he takes them off on this Halloween adventure that correlates to each of their costumes and kind of is like a ride through time while they try to decipher what lies under Halloween, or what led to Halloween. So it's not necessarily, oh, this is where Halloween began and this country carved these, and it's not really like that, but it's more like a travel through time where they incorporate different elements and how that could have potentially led to the Halloween that we celebrate. It's cute. It's really cute. I am definitely going to read this one again next year. And they also have pictures in them too, which I mean isn't uncommon in Ray Bradbury books. But yeah, a really cute book. You guys told me that that was a movie. I didn't get to watch it this year, but I will next year. And then the last book that I read was A Night in the Lonesome October by Roger Zelazny. And this one, again, was so cute. If you love science fiction, I would highly recommend this book. This one, again, is kind of whimsical like the Ray Bradbury one. It's about this town, these group of people, and it's told through the perspective of a dog named Snuff. And so his owner is in what they call the game, but it ends up being, it's not as relaxed as that. It's actually kind of a serious thing. Basically, Snuff's job is to determine who's playing in the game, who are openers and closers in the game. He has to do some calculations incorporating where everybody lives to figure out where this game will take place. But all through the month, because it's told in journal format, kind of like Snuff's journal, and so it's like October 1st, this is what we did. October 2nd, this is what we did. So one of you recommended that I read it one chapter each day of Halloween, October, which was such a great idea. So thank you so much for recommending that. I highly recommend that as well. It was so fun. I was confused a lot in the beginning because you don't really get a bunch of detail from the get-go. So I was like, wait, what does this mean? But I think you get enough as you go along that it makes the story, it's so cute. It's such a cute book. Yeah, and you do have a lot of Halloween elements in there too. You have like a Dracula and you have like a Frankenstein, and so it does feel very Halloween. And they also go on these cute little missions where they have to collect stardust, or they have to do this, or I don't know. I thought that this was such a cute story. It feels to me like a child story written for adults, because all the people in the book have these animals, and I can't remember what they call them in the book, but they're like, you know, witches have their, whatever you call those. I can't remember the term, but it's like their, you know, guide animal or whatever. So each character has an animal in the book. So a lot of the interactions happen between the animals of this town. But it's just such a cute freaking story. And you go on these weird adventures and you're following Snuff around while he's just trying to figure out what's happening. And I think actually it does tell you what the game is in the description. And it says the players, both human and undead, are prepared to participate. Some have come to open the gates, some have come to slam them shut, and now the dread night approaches. So let the game begin. Okay, so I guess it doesn't go into too much detail, but you just kind of slowly go along with it and unravel what Snuff is trying to do through the whole thing, and how the different characters are trying to either sabotage or help other people that are playing this game. It's a really cute story. I highly recommend if you guys want something kind of more whimsical and almost childlike, but definitely written more for an adult audience, and a mixture of kind of fantasy, science fiction, a little bit of horror in there. But yeah, I don't know. It was a cute story. Thanks for recommending that I read it one chapter per day, because yeah, the chapters are pretty small, so I could read other books along with it. So cute. And just, you know, honestly, anything written from the perspective of a dog, I think is just such a cute concept. You guys know I'm obsessed with my dogs, so I love anything dog related. But that was the last book that I read this month. So let me know what you guys read for October. Let me know if you've read any of these. A little bummed that October felt like the middle of summer, but it's cool now. It cooled off real quick. November 1st, automatically winter. It's like 60 degrees outside, which might not be cold for you guys, but in LA, that's pretty much our winters. We don't get too cold out here. So it's pretty cold, and it's been crazy windy all day. So I think we'll be able to start a little bit of those spookier books hopefully soon. Anyways, I will see you guys on Sunday for our live stream our book club live stream, we're reading the Amityville Horror the first half. I mean, not reading it, but discussing it. And then Carmilla the second half. So tune in for that. It will be Sunday at noon PST. And hope to see you there and hope to discuss some books with you. I have a lot to say. So yeah, I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys read this month. And I will see you soon with another horror video. I was gonna say horror book. Bye guys.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.